Welcome to Fayette Footprints, a podcast about the people, places, and events that make up the fabric of Fayette County, Georgia. My name is Kenny Blum. I am a longtime resident of Fayette County, a bit of a history nerd, and now an amateur podcaster. Today we talk about the development of Peachtree City, Georgia. This planned community concept came out long before Peachtree City was developed, and we're decided to have you join our podcast today. Welcome to another edition of Fayette Footprints. This week we are having a fantastic interview with Miss Jill Prouty, who is the Library Services Director at Peachtree City Public Library. Welcome to the podcast, Jill.
Thanks, Kenny.
In addition to being the director here at the Peachtree City Public Library, there's a particular room that really ties into today's podcast about the history of Peachtree City. What is that room?
The Joel Cowan History Room. The
Joel Cowan History Room. And I understand that you are now the expert on Peachtree City history.
Oh, I don't know. Can we put like air quotes around that?
That'll work. Let's go back a little ways. Before Peachtree City was even a thought, back in the 30s and 40s, what was around in this land?
Farmland. Cows. Probably some corn. It was all just empty farmland.
Was the lake here at all?
Nope. No
Not
lake.
even a lake there. Nope. Peachtree City is only one of a few planned communities. What exactly does it mean to be a planned community?
Boy, my understanding is that most towns and cities tend to naturally build up around water. You have like Boston and Philadelphia, that kind of thing. And so they just sort of happen organically. And so a planned city is one that is, a group of investors, or I guess even a person could do it, but they buy up a bunch of property and they drop plans of how they're going to develop it over, a course of years. And so it's somewhat unique in America. There's a few others, but Peachtree City is, a unique community because of that.
And you did say it was kind of unique to the United States. Where did this idea actually come from? Because it wasn't an American thought, was it?
No, it was in England, actually, after World War II. London was bombed, and there was a lot of damage, and so I think people started looking outside the city for a fix. And then the idea was first of all, I think they first called it this idea of a new town. Did you say
new
that,
town.
or did you say garden cities? Because you'll hear both. This whole idea that they wanted to move somewhere outside of the city, and the whole garden city component is to have this public green spaces and to consider the quality of life, and to have services to we say now live, work, and play where you live, right? So they kind of wanted to do that instead of this constant urban sprawl that takes place in cities. The idea is to plan kind of a green community where you have your shopping and you have recreational opportunities and that kind of thing, and you have it all close to home.
All close to home. Okay. So almost a pushback from the Industrial Revolution, really.
Correct. That's right. That's a good answer. You could have done this.
Who are some of the founders that started this development? Obviously, Joel Cowan was important, but there are several others.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a one-man show.
Yeah. It's really, I think it's really a fascinating story, because Joel, he didn't come up with the idea for Peachtree City. He sort of got in. He got in when he was 23 years old, believe it or not. He was a kid at Georgia Tech. But the original idea for it, some people kind of argue exactly who originated the idea, but Peter Knox Jr., his big business was prefabricated homes, and he was from Thompson, Georgia, and he was interested in this whole Garden Cities, new town movement, and wanted to kind of branch out, and he decided he wanted to try this and wanted some. I don't know if he. Somehow he sent out a couple of realtors looking for property for him on where to build this new city, and I don't know whether whether payment took place. I don't know how that all worked out, or whether they took a cut from, if they were part of the original corporation. But anyway, Pete Knox Jr. Sent out these two realtors, and I think they were from College Park, somewhere up around the Tri-Cities area. And they ended up in Fayette County at the Tyrone Bank, which is where Floy Farr enters the story.
Okay.
They came down and were talking with one of his assistants, one of Floyd's assistants, someone that worked at the bank there, and he finally came out of his office and asked, what exactly they were doing there, because this conversation went on, and they said, we're looking for 15,000 acres.
Wow.
We want to build a city, and do you know where there might be, a collection of land that large? And he said, yeah, it's just down the road.
Yeah.
So, and he knew all the players over here. The largest landowner, his last name was Huddleston, and I want to say it was Bob Huddleston. That was his
Robert
name.
Huddleston.
And yeah, Robert, or I've heard him called Uncle Bob too. So anyway, he sent him down here, and he eventually, these two realtors, took this deal back to Pete Knox. And where Joel Cowan enters the story is that he read about this planned city and this land purchase down in Fayette County. He read about it one morning at Georgia Tech in the fraternity house. He was eating breakfast, and Pete Knox III, who was Peter Jr.'s son, was a fraternity brother. And Joel was reading this article, and he mentioned to him, hey, it looks like your dad might need a mayor for this new town. And he said they might have talked a little bit about it, but not, didn't go anywhere. But then I want to say it was a few weeks later, he invited him out for lunch. His dad was coming to town, invited him out for lunch, and he kind of took a liking to Joel, and then next thing you know, he's invited out to Thompson to the family home to maybe spend the weekend or something like that, and that's where he decided to hire him and put Joel in charge of this project. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's I love to tell that story, especially to young people, because part of being successful, I think, is being in the right place at the right time and recognizing opportunity when it knocks, right?
Recognizing it, yes.
And when Joel was brought in on this deal, he, boy, if memory serves me, and you can find these interviews on our website, transcripts to interviews with Joel Cowan, and he talks about it. And if I remember correctly, he didn't have a salary to begin with. They gave him a percentage of, or some shares in the development corporation, which of course eventually turned into real money.
Right.
But at the time,
it was a leap of faith.
It was a leap of faith, and it didn't mean a whole lot,
Right.
And when he got married, I think he got married at like 24, and his wife, Jerry, had told me that, that she was pretty much the one bringing home the check to pay the bills. She worked, I want to say, at Lockheed at the time. And so anyway, it was a leap of faith, yeah. And he recognized, this could be something good.
Wow. It was originally designed with a industrial section and a more recreational section, which that's where the Lake Peachtree came to, and a lot of the residential area was going to be in that around the lake.
Yeah.
Were the original villages of Kedron, Braylon, Glenlock, and Aberdeen a part of that original plan? Do you know?
I think the two original villages were Aberdeen and Glenlock.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I remember being here, or moving here in '83, and they were just starting to develop Braylon. So I don't think Braylon existed initially.
Okay.
That was something new. And Kedron, you know what? It's actually kind of a mixed question. What you asked, because Aberdeen was a community, I guess you could say, even before Peachtree City was founded.
Okay.
Aberdeen was kind of over towards the railroad tracks, like heading on 74 north.
Okay.
Not very far, though. There was an area there called Aberdeen. And Shake Rag, although it's not a village,
Right.
we have Shake Rag Hill up, which is where Joel's they put a prefab home eventually for him when he had to move down here. He initially lived in an apartment in Atlanta,
Okay.
but when they knew they needed boots on the ground, they sent him down here, and he was married at that point. And they put a Pete Knox prefab home up on Shake Rag Hill, right around where Chin Chin is now.
Oh,
You know what
right.
I'm talking
Okay.
about? So, and that area was known as Shake Rag, and what was one of the other names? Oh, Kedron.
Kedron, yes.
Kedron also was kind of maybe towards the north a little bit, up towards Shake Rag. There was a Kedron, a little community called Kedron too. So Aberdeen and Kedron were existing places,
right?
But they were smaller and maybe not exactly where they are now.
Okay, so the names have been around.
Yes, the names have been around. And Braylon and, let's see, what's the other one? What am I missing?
Glenlock, Aberdeen, Braylon, and Kedron.
And Kedron. Mm-hmm. We haven't gotten to Wilkesmore yet.
Not yet, so. Yes. Yeah. Because that came along a little bit later,
That came on later, yeah. I was here the second time for that one. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Kedron kind of developed more along the time that the lake was finished. Would that be fairly accurate in the 80s, early 80s?
By the time the lake, which lake are you talking about?
Lake Kedron, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes, that's when they started developing up that way.
Gotcha.
And that would have been like the mid 80s, yeah.
Mid 80s,
Mm-hmm.
right. I was swimming in that lake before it was filled.
Really?
Can't do that anymore.
I remember when they dug it.
Yes.
Like, remember?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how deep it was. It seemed
very
really
deep.
deep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Walking under the bridge
Yeah.
before the lake was filled was amazing.
And you asked about Lake Peachtree earlier. Mm-hmm. Now, you probably know this, but I'm going to say it for your listeners, that Georgia doesn't have any natural lakes.
Right.
Yeah. So, and Joel was the one that dammed it up to, that's what's so fascinating about Joel Cowan.
Yeah.
He was like, he had some ideas, and actually almost as equally important was he was willing to try them. He wasn't just, wanting other people. I mean, at least initially he was, because he was out there.
That might have been the age also, 23, 24.
Well, the original dam was built by a group of, designed and built by an engineering firm. And when that one failed, like in the first couple of years, Joel designed the second one.
Wow.
And he and his cousin Chip, who was our third mayor, built it. And that lasted until that new one went out here in the last 10 years,
right.
the piano key one.
Right.
So how crazy is that?
Yeah. Wow. Imagine everything you have to go through to get that done now.
Yeah. And if, I could go on and on about Joel's stories, but, initially when he came down here and wanted to put this lake in, he had to blow up a lot of beaver dams too, and he did that. He had somebody show him how to set off the dynamite and hide behind trees, and he said mud was be going everywhere, and so,
Truly a grassroots movement.
Yes. Worked out for him, though.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And you did mention Wilkesmore or the West Side development. Yeah. That didn't come along until...
and this is just by memory, I remember everything was all tore up over there at the beginning of the 2000s.
Right. That's like the Planterra Ridge.
Yes. And Planterra was there in the 90s when I came back in 98. But they really started, that's when they started widening 54 West and started having some of those shopping centers in there.
Right.
And I can't remember exactly when Walmart went in. I think it went in the maybe late 90s.
Right.
But when it really started building up was in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always surprised by how much they would fit into the corner, that intersection. I thought, gosh, there's not that much space there, but they kept building and building.
Yeah, and it's hard to remember when I look at old pictures. It's hard to remember,
yes.
When I think back now, where was Frankenfries? How long have you been here?
79.
Yeah. So when I try to go back and look, sometimes it's hard to remember exactly where everything was
change.
Because it looks so different. Yeah.
So when they planned it, how far did they plan out how they wanted the city to be, or is it just something that evolved as members on the development corps changed?
I mean, the spirit of the plan, of the original plan, is still intact, but it has changed a lot because, the original plan called for a population of over 80,000.
Wow.
So the original plan was for double this size,
right.
And it had more multifamily housing,
right,
So, but as Joel says in his interviews, you can have the plan, but it may not be what's going to sell, right?
Oh, there you go.
So, so it's still the spirit of the plan is still there, like with the villages, but the density certainly is much less than what they initially planned for.
Wow,
so.
80,000.
Yeah.
And were golf cart paths always a part of that idea?
No. In fact, this morning I was researching some information for the city manager, and so I kind of got a refresher on this. They had, they started with bike paths, they called them.
Okay.
And then, of course, with the Flat Creek, and I don't know when Braylon Golf course came in, but anyway, the issue was people started driving, because it's a small town.
Right.
They started driving their golf carts on the streets, and then there was a lot of back and forth between city council, the city attorney, the state of Georgia, and we have some interesting letters between Governor Carter at the time and our mayor. Trying to, initially they said, no, it sounds like, if people are just crossing the street to get home from the golf course, then no, it probably doesn't have, we probably don't have to have inspections, and they don't have to have all these regulations like cars do. Well, it turns out they were doing a little more than that. They were driving all around. Right.
Yeah.
So they had to revisit that issue. And the first time, at least in the documents I was looking at, that they started talking about actually making them, or at least making some of them, multi-use paths where you could use an electric golf cart on them. It couldn't be gas powered. Was around 74.
Okay.
So, and because at the time, and it had to be at least 8 foot wide, the path.
Okay.
If it was narrower, like on Hip Pocket, they had one that was 6 feet. Do you remember if Hip Pockets was more like a sidewalk?
Right.
So those you couldn't. I didn't know that at the time. I think I don't think I tried to drive my golf cart on that, but still, I remember that though being real narrow there.
Yes, yeah.
And so anyway, so it was kind of was kind of half and half for a while, and then eventually they turned them into all what we call now the multi-use path system. Yeah.
Right. Which is
golf
huge.
Cart paths.
The golf cart paths, right, yes. Well, while we were sitting inside the Joel Cowan History Room, what kind of resources could somebody expect to find in here? Because I see shelves with a lot of documents.
Yeah, well, we are in the process of finding aids, and we have an online repository that people...
That includes the audio recordings, right?
It does, yes. So what can you find? You can find, thank you for mentioning that, our oral history documents. We have all of them transcribed. Not all of them have been edited yet and posted, but you can find Joel Cowan's interviews on there. We have Floy Farr and Chip Connor, not Chip Connor, Ralph Jones.
Okay.
We have him on there. He was the second mayor. No, sorry. Yes, Ralph Jones. He was after Joel.
Okay.
So, so we have some of them available online now at our website. We also have an online repository at a a platform called Archive Space that is being added to, so that you can at least know. Get a sense of the contents of all of these archival boxes we have in the room. We have a lot of different documents, and we have them separated by decade. Some of them, for instance, we have some like early history. We have information on the developers, information on different people associated with Peachtree City, like Joel Cowan and Floy Farr and Jerry Peterson, and I could go on. Yeah. There's a lot of people,
I did come across those audios before. That was awesome.
Yeah,
some of the Joel
I'm
Cowan
glad.
interviews.
Yes,
yeah.
I love the interviews.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of photographs too, and we have old maps and things related to the areas, the environs, of Peachtree City too. So, but yeah, a lot of interesting things. Even like various ephemera, I guess I would call them. Like awards and plaques and. Yeah, there's Glen Allen up there. Do you remember M.T. Allen? She was our head librarian for many, many years. Her husband gave us that photograph up there of him after he carved Mule Rock out at Line Creek Park Nature Preserve, and there's his, the mallet that he used and the, what would you call those, the picks or
awls or something.
The thing you bang on.
Right, the thing you bang on.
The thing you bang on that has a sharp
term.
edge. Yeah, there you go. So we have some other. Oh, and we have like the part of what's Tinsley Mill, like that wheel there from Tinsley Mill, and then that wooden apparatus over there was from the original, the Macintosh Trail play that they built. The what's now called the Fred was originally built in '76 for a bicentennial live play that they put on called the Macintosh Trail. So we have all kinds of interesting things in here.
Gosh, so even for a fairly new city, we've got some great history already.
We do. Yeah. And as I told you earlier before we started recording, I initially didn't really think we had that much, and I didn't think it was all that interesting. Right. But in the last, I would say, 5, 6, 7 years, with working probably with the oral history transcripts, I've realized just how interesting it is and just how rich our history really is too. So even though we are technically, a new city, it has a very, very interesting history.
That's awesome. I just think it's interesting that you sometimes hear people say, well, it's a plain community. Well, what does that mean? And where did that come from? And I'm hoping that's what this helps to bring about, just to get some more stories about our county where people can hear and find out.
Yes. And that right now the access to the history room is by appointment.
Okay.
And people can email us here at the library. There's information on the website about who to contact if they want to make an appointment. And we will, I'm so glad actually we talked today, because I need to make that link to archive space. I think it's probably ready to at least share what we have right now so people can get an idea of what we have, as far as the boxes, what we have in some of our boxes and artifacts and that kind of thing. So.
Well, thank you. And we'll get the web address put in the show notes just in case anybody needs to check it out.
All right, awesome.
If they want to get in touch with you. And please come to the Peachtree City Public Library and find Miss Prouty. She is a wealth of knowledge on Peachtree City and as a librarian, a whole lot more. So.
Can I share one more thing?
Absolutely.
Throwback Thursdays. Have you seen our Throwback Thursday posts on Facebook? Every Thursday night at 7 p.m. And let me tell you, we have gained a lot of followers with these Throwback Thursday posts. We post an old photograph of some place or someone in Peachtree City, and people love it. They wait for it. I get texts and phone calls.
This is fascinating. I love it.
They absolutely, and it was actually a colleague over at the Hargrit Rare Manuscript Library at UGA that told me, you ought to do Throwback Thursday, because he said, we found, that people really get excited if you just select an old photo and put it out there. And I'm telling you, we have more than doubled our followers with those Throwback Thursday posts. So I want to tell your listeners to follow us and pay attention on Thursday nights at 7 p.m.
Okay. We'll include that in the notes also so that people can get to that, because that would be fascinating. I know I've seen a few things from the Fayette History Center posted like that, but I did not know y'all were doing that here too. So I will be following that too.
All right.
All right, we want to thank everybody for following along today, and I look forward to having you join us again with Fayette Footprints on our next installment. We've got some great ideas coming up in the next couple of months, and please feel free to email me at fayettefootprints@gmail.com if you've got ideas or stories that you would like to share. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Jill, for joining us today.
Thank you.